place. Here we are on May 9th, 1997. And where are we? Aren't you going to talk to me?
Grandma Jean's house in Tennessee. And we're going for a walk, and if I get wet...
Formerly, who lived here?
Edward and Daisy Muncie.
For how long? Long time.
They're nearly their lifetime.
Do you know who lived here before them?
Yep.
Who lived here before them?
Lloyd Muncie and Cecil Bolton.
Cecil Bolton.
I played here when I was a little girl.
And at the top of the hill is the road, and Ray lives up there. And on the other side,
White Buchanan's house, church house, graveyard.
And that's where your mom and dad are buried.
Yep.
And across the street is
Kurt Fletcher.
who went to school with you.
Yep. Known him all my life.
Well, here's a view from the top of the house, the road. You see, they still got an outhouse, smokehouse, and all the outbuildings are still there. And who lives on the hill over here?
Mitty Fletcher and her daughter.
Right across the holler. All right, we're about a quarter of a way down our walk now, and whose house is this, Grandmother?
Uncle Flem Smith's.
Who's that?
He was an old guy when I was growing up, give me a sweet tater every day. And he'd make me not eat it till I got home because he's afraid I'd choke. He was a very good old man.
Any good stories about him?
Yep. He was a good father. He raised a big bunch of kids. Wife died young. He was a good man of the country.
How about this house clear up here in the corner?
That's Howard Smith's house. Howard Smith was the only child. His mom and dad had two, and one died, left him. He later on in years got married, but never had no children.
So a lot of these houses are just kind of falling in now.
Yep. And that top right here on the hill you see is Sherman Smith's house. That's Uncle Flem's brother.
Clear up there.
Yep, you'll see the top of the hill.
No one lives up there now, though.
I don't know if they do or not. I never went back. I don't know if they fixed Lafayette's house or what it was or not.
All right, now where are we standing?
Okay, we're standing about a fourth of a mile from my old home place. Right up to there, don't look much now, but when I was a little girl, there was a big garden up there. And I loved to go with Mom to the garden. And one day I made Mom carry me, as big as she was, and she fell down and she dropped me. And when we got home, I was crying as usual. And Daddy quarreled at Mom because she dropped me. I never will forget it.
Is that where that incident with the bird happened?
Yep.
Tell that story.
My Uncle Lon and my dad was tending corn in this big field right up here. And I always wanted to catch a bird. There was something about birds that I liked. Back then, you never had no birds that you bought at the store. So I wanted a bird. I'd try to catch one, never could. And my Uncle Lon told me, way off down the patch, about 7 or 8 rows down, there was a bird, and it was too little to fly, and if I'd go, I could get it. And oh, I tore off running. I got down there and I couldn't find it, and he said, well, he guessed it flew away. He said, now that you're down there, bring the water back up, I'm thirsty. And oh, I was so mad. But being a good little girl, I brought it back.
So we're going right down into the holler now. They call this Muncie Holler, right?
Yep. Okay.
All right, now where are we?
We're at my old home, but it don't look like it no more. It's ugly. That used to be the road that would plumb up to a wood bridge and around down on that side, all the way down.
And your house was where?
Plumb on around down here where we're going to go in.
And where was your house?
My house sat about where the old trailer sat.
How big a house was it?
It was a nice log house. It was real nice. Daddy had built onto it, and it was nice. This road I'm standing on wasn't here no at that time. This was the ground. This don't look like a dog. It's all filled in. The creek ain't big like it was. The creek ain't where it was.
How long has your house been gone?
About 15 years, 20 years. Ray lived in it a long time. And then he didn't tear it down for a long time.
Did y'all rent off of the Muncies then? Or?
Yep, rented off Uncle Pete. Which is
And this is where
Ray's
you were
grandpa.
born, the place you were born at.
I was born in Bryson, Tennessee. You know, I often wonder, Doug, I heard something. When I was a little girl, I know the mountain was higher up off the road than it is here. And one night I was hearing television, and they told about how much a mountain drifts down so many inches a year, and that's why it's come down.
Well, we're going to sign off and come back on here in just a few minutes.
This used to be a big bottom right here. Paper patch on this side. Now a lot of these trees have grown down here. Higher up there where it is now. And my garden was over on that side. Right at the end of the garden was the place we kept pigs. You had to go all the way out there to stop pigs. Oh, used to be a little barn set about halfway down through here, and it was corn crib in the barn, and the cows stayed in it. In the winter.
Where is this where your earliest memories are?
Yep, I guess.
What is your earliest memory?
When I was 3 years old, I had my picture taken in the creek, about halfway down. Oh, the creek was big at that time. If you'll see my picture sometime, Doug, you can tell the difference. And I stood on 2 rocks, and Uncle Edward Muncie took my picture. It's at my
Your
grandma's.
family was always really close with Uncle Edward, weren't they?
Yep. Near kin, just as much kin as any kin I've got.
And where'd you say there's a cave at?
About straight across from the trailer, about a quarter of a mile up the mountain.
Up in here.
Yep. One time he's a wildcat did it and kept us the house for 2 or 3 days.
Well, onward we shall go, down Yeary Road.
So,
Now, where is this right here?
this used to be my garden right here. But it didn't look like that.
Who owns this land now?
Ray Muncie. He owns the whole thing back in here. It's got cattle on it.
We're coming up out of the holler. What's this?
This right here is called the old lawn field. It's all growed up now, but it was a big field when I was a child.
So the road didn't run right through there like
Nope.
that?
Road come over about, oh,
It was on over there.
and that was a big steep field. Mom would take me and Lois to hoe corn, and Mom put the baby in a pasteboard box, and I had to watch it. She'd hoe so far out, and then she'd move that box and go on further out to hoe, and she'd do that all day. She took us our dinner, and we did that, and I played in the dirt. Sometimes I would lay my head on the box and go to sleep with my sister. And
Which sister? That was Helen?
no, Lois.
Lois.
And then one day I got scared, and I went screaming for Mommy, and I can see Mommy yet. She throwed her hoe and she ran so fast, I hollered there was a snake in the box. And when she got there, it was the longest redworm she'd ever seen. With no snake.
But the baby was in the box too?
Baby was was in the box.
With a long red worm.
Yeah. And Mommy cored at me a little bit because she was so scared of me, and she just got me up and hugged me and told me that was right. Didn't matter what, I was to tell her. Went on about hoeing her corn all day long. Where are we?
Okay, now where are we?
We're at the back of Uncle Pete Muncie's barn, or store. And right behind it's where I raised tobacco at, my dad and my mom and me.
In this field right through here.
That was growed up a lot of the tobacco patch come around there. House sits right on top of the hill.
But that's the original store.
That's the original store. That's Uncle Pete sold groceries there. He walked on 2 canes. He had got hurt when he was a boy.
In the mines, wasn't it?
No, a wagon ran over.
A wagon ran over him, that's right.
And of course, his back probably was broken. He never did fix it. And he was good to me. He always gave me candy and brown sugar and crackers out of the barrel. Now we're talking about, I'm 68 years old. And we're talking about back in the time I was little till I was 11 years old. So that's been a few spells ago.
And
No wonder it's hard for me to walk.
Who was Pete's wife?
Aricia.
She was a Clarkson, right?
She was right. She was good to me, but not like Uncle Pete was. I could buy with anything from Grandpa Pete. My dad was crazy about him. He lived here for years.
And Pete lived in the store, didn't he?
Yep.
Why is that?
Well, he said it's afraid somebody break in, but I often thought it was to get away from Rissy.
All right.
This is Uncle Pete's store. And he slept in this inn here, this little brown building. He had a bedroom in there. And to me, when I was a little girl, that was a big store.
What kind of stuff did they sell?
Well, they sold some pork and beans and canned stuff. Not too much, and some Viennese sausage. That's the first I've seen them. And they sold dress goods so Mommy could make us a dress. Daddy a pair of overalls, he sold that. Some shoes, some socks, and a cracker barrel full of crackers. And brown sugar in a cracker barrel.
Did people hang out up here, or
Yep.
come to talk?
Come to talk.
Chew tobacco.
Yep. Talk about who was going to win in politics from one year to the next. And how the crops is going to grow.
I wonder when they closed this store. Have you any idea?
Yeah, no, I can't remember that. Wished I'd took all that down. Uncle Edward very well might have it wrote down and all that stuff he wrote down. Now this is the house. It was built back. It looked just like this one, but it was turned this way. The original house burnt down. Right down here in this sinkhole was a pear tree. This ground right here has been built up too. This thing used to be, it was this steep because the ground over there was level with it. Had the best pears I ever ate. And used to be the old barn set out about where the cedars was, the 2 big barns. This barn's been built since I've left.
Is this where they drank all that grape juice?
Right, that's it.
Well, tell that story for us.
Okay, right behind this barn, and that woodland there too, farther woodland, used to be a good tobacco patch. That was Aunt Daisy's and Uncle Edward's tobacco patch, and this was ours. And one hot day, Daddy and Mommy and Uncle Edward and Aunt Daisy was doing tobacco. And they was hoeing it, and it was, I can remember it, it was higher than waist high. And Uncle Edward told Daisy to go up in the little house, which is right up here where they lived.
We'll show that in a minute.
Get some grape juice. But he forgot to tell us the grape juice had been worked off probably 5 or 6 times. And he brought down a couple of quarts, and us kids drank a little bit, but not much. Mom put water in it for us. I remember that because it was strong. And my dad, and my mommy, and Uncle Edward, and Aunt Daisy got drunk. And they got to cutting up and running each other. They was young. Tore the whole backer patch. They destroyed it.
Didn't Pete raise peaches too or something?
Okay, road that goes off, that road was ours when I was a little girl. That's where Daddy took the old mules, old Bet and old Red rode him off there many a time. Because they wouldn't come home and hear the dinner bell, them old mules went wild. They know it's dinner time, they'd come off. But there's a big peach orchard right back on top, a big open stump. And they used to have the biggest peaches. There wasn't no way Rissy could take care of half of them, but she didn't want nobody having them. But Uncle Pete would tell Daddy to come up from our house at the bottom through the woods and get all we wanted. We did.
But he didn't want his wife to know, right?
No, we just didn't tell her.
That's no, what is this over here? That's the road?
That main road that you see right over there was the road my dad walked on when he was doing all this farming. All this was farms in.
And he sharecropped, right?
Sharecropped.
For who? Pete Muncie?
Uh-huh. And there wasn't no trees growed up in here like you see now. None of this. There was a little bit of trees down by where we lived at. And Daddy'd be way up in there doing the field, plowing corn or whatever he'd be plowing, wheat or whatever he'd be working in. And Aunt Rissy had cooked dinner for him. And she rang the old dinner bell. It hung out by a smokehouse. The smokehouse wouldn't turn this way either. She got there and she'd ring it. Why they didn't leave them on mules up on top of the hill, I'll never know, but they didn't. And they'd get started and them two old mules would run off with my dad right down behind them hot.
And who was the mules again?
Old Beck and Red. And old Red I could ride anywhere. I always took her when I had to go to mill, get corn ground for a corn mill. I'd ride her bareback. But old Beck, Daddy never allowed me on her. She was dangerous. She was black.
Now what was this?
This store right here, my dad took a wagon and took chickens and eggs and anything else that Uncle Pete might buy. And he took it into Millsboro and he sold it and bought stuff for the store. And it took 2 days and nights from make the trip. And Grandpa Pete rode right alongside of Daddy, and Daddy'd have to help him up and on because he was crippled so bad. And
2 days and nights, wow.
2 days and nights.
Takes about 40 minutes now.
Not that long. But I can see the old wagon with the cover over it. I can see Daddy and Uncle Pete going, and the two old mules pulled it. That was what there was. The two old mules was what they bought it for to pull it with.
What was this one?
When Uncle Pete told Daddy to come down, and he asked Dad, he said, could you drive a truck? And my dad said, yeah, he could drive a truck. And they went and they bought a little Studebaker, and I never will forget the little Studebaker. It wasn't much bigger than my car is right now with the back end and the front end and all, but it was a little truck. And then, boy, did they go to store in style. But still took them a whole day and a night and a day to drive back.
There's a story in there about Helen getting real sick one time, isn't there?
Yeah. We didn't live here then. We lived in Fondue. And Helen got seriously ill. And Dad come back and got money off of Uncle Edward to take her to Knoxville.
But he loaned him the money to take her in?
Loaned her money with a handshake. Never asked for no note, never asked it to be paid back, but Dad did. Never was put down. Give it to him with a
Close friends.
Yep.
That's why you call him Uncle, right?
Yep. Well, if you'd ever read the journal that Uncle Edward left, you'd know he's always Russell and me, and Russell and me, and me and Russell did this.
Go.
Okay. The man I live in his house now, which is his grandpa's, this was his house. This was where Ray was brought home the day he was born. And you know, he didn't look little then. He looked big. It had I can remember the original paper still on it in there. I can remember it had like a little sitting room. It wasn't really a living room. You didn't have couches, and had a big bedroom and a kitchen. It didn't seem little. And they've always left it standing, and I hope they do. Nobody can tell it now, but I could look back and see what it looked like. My eyes, damn it, got to see it again.
What was this back room back here?
That was the kitchen. It had a porch on it. Here's the steps. Steps is fancy steps back in them days. This was a pretty house back in them days. It was white. It was a nice house. Nobody had.
So did you spend a lot of time up here?
Yep. My mom and Aunt Daisy spent all their time together. They canned together. They churned milk together. They talked together. They spent a lot
Probably
of time.
chewed tobacco together.
No, Aunt Daisy never chewed tobacco.
Really?
No.
Mark Eckert is from Bedford, Massachusetts, and it says here you were inspired by a
Bang, swap feeds. They used to turn the milk on the other side there. We went out on the other side, and it was, the ground was pretty around here. Kept it cut nice, looked pretty. I remember it was so much nicer than our house, even down there, and I thought our house in years to come was a nice house. But this was nice. It had a big porch all the way across it with wooden rocking chairs. See, it had a porch and two big old wooden rocking chairs set on it.
There ain't much left of it now, though, is there?
There is, and if they'll just leave that much, I can still see the rest of it. I don't have to have any more of it. Yep, I can see it.
Okay, now where are we standing?
We're on top of the mountain, on top of the hill, whatever you want to call it. And this is my Yeary's house.
It's kind of windy on top here. This is looking out towards what ridge?
Walnut Ridge.
Beautiful.
Just imagine waking up every morning to that view.
And if you see,
Still can.
there's a barn right there, clear over there, and that's the original Harkins home place, isn't it?
Yep. It's the original. Laurie will tell you all about that.
We're gonna go get Laurie Serber right now. So, who we got here?
Nobody. Oh, hey.
And where are we at?
We don't know.
We're lost.
We're lost.
I know
We're
these
not.
car codes, we're right in the middle of the road.
Yeah, and I know they're going to
Here's
slaughter
Bill's
you.
house. Just fixing to be done. And whose old house is this right here?
Frank
My
Miles.
old house, that's a pretty nice house, but we lived there. Lord.
How many rooms did that have in it?
It's got a, well, this end up here's a living room, and there's a bedroom straight from that, and then this cell part out here is a bedroom and kitchen. This little old bitty part right here where these floors, they used to have that nice in this little kitchen. But we put a little old bed in there, a little bitty single bed, and it filled it too, but we had
That's seen better days, though, hadn't it?
Yes, it sure has.
He's going to burn
I
it.
still like
He
it
told
up
me he
here.
was going to burn it.
I didn't have no water and I lived up here, but I still liked it. Better than I do where I'm at now.
You're going
This is Joe Yeary's.
And what happened here, though?
They had a big fight. They killed two men instantly, but my uncle didn't die here. He died the next day.
Who was it, Tom Brooks? Why was the fight over?
Over making whiskey.
moonshine still.
And, Grandma, didn't you say that Sam Harkins come down here about it?
No, they sent for Grandpa and he wouldn't come.
Why didn't he come?
Because he had prayed for the Lord to move the still didn't matter what take, and Grandpa said that he couldn't come and look at him when he prayed for the still.
Well, who shot who?
going here, Jason.
Women of Baywatch, 300, please.
All right, the clue is Laney in 1997. At the present time, she may or may not be married to Dennis Rodman.
Hello, Joe. Well, hi. But I don't know how, that's been what, still 60?
we go.
Yeah.
That's been,
Hi.
it's been
How are
about
you?
66 years. We'll be the last part of June.
bite you.
Happened in June.
Yeah, because it was about the last few days of June. Aunt Joe, you know who these is, don't you? This is Aunt Effie's girl.
We met you
know
last
her.
year.
Aunt Effie Russell.
Yeah.
And that's her grandson. He's making pictures of him.
He must be
Well,
awful.
Pine didn't die here.
One
They
of them
took him-
died in the back of a truck, though, didn't when that's what it was.
I
Mom.
know.
Well,
Uncle Tyne died the next day, didn't he?
next day about the same
Yeah.
time he got shot.
Reason I can remember, you know, we lived up here in that house, you know,
Yeah.
up Earl Patton place.
Yeah,
We lived up there, and Stell was 2 weeks old.
yeah. And the Chattel feller, he lived to about a year or so. He just got,
Oh,
Poor.
did he?
yeah, poor and thin. He lived back over yonder.
Yeah, they was 3 of them come.
Well, I
And
didn't know that.
Thompson's one that died here on the porch, I think he died on the porch.
Was it?
No,
Yeah.
well,
He
I
was
know. I know they said one of them died there on the end of the porch.
Yeah, Thompson.
Yeah.
And Chattel, though, he lived about another year or so.
Caleb,
He
leave the
just
dogs
cut
alone.
down forward.
She's staying right here.
Skinny.
Well, I know they said it at John Brooks, you know, that was Uncle Tyne's boy.
Yeah.
Said he got in the car. They had a T-model or something with it, Joe, and said he drove. No, now he wouldn't. It was maybe it was Jim. Maybe got in that car and drove out here to John Brooks' place to tell John about it. You know, people didn't have no phones then or nothing.
Well, Bab and John and Porter and there's another one of them. There was 4 of them first children.
Yeah.
And the last one was Unley, Campbell, Doyle, Minnie, and J.T.
Yeah, I remember JT.
You know, they're about all dead.
I remember JT.
Yeah.
They're about all dead.
Philip,
They're all gone.
Only she's still alive, ain't she?
No, as not as I know, I think
Philip,
he's gone.
no.
Well,
I think-
Mommy said that they always did
Well, I
tell her
know-
that the woman shot the men from the upstairs. That the men didn't shoot them.
No, it was Doyle and Minnie was the 2 that shot him.
Said
And
that
Doyle,
she did it.
the
Get over
gun that he shot with, it was
Get away.
30 or 30 and it jammed. Well,
I'm a with you.
I was on top of the hill down there, and I heard Tyne call for his pistol. Well, he was out on the back, and he called for his pistol, and I was told to Chattel, when Mandy, his wife, rescued the pistol, he said he couldn't hardly hold over her, but he didn't shoot at her. He shot Tyne, and they just pump, 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 just like that. They emptied their guns, but Chattel shot Tyne, I think 2 or 3 times. But Tyne didn't shoot Chattel no more.
well,
They just kept shooting one of them.
yeah, they said that.
They emptied their guns the way it sounded.
Yeah, I know it was awful. I guess that's why I remember it. Mommy and Daddy, like I said, they lived
Grandpa
up in
had
that house,
Grandpa
you know.
had the store and had the
And,
mill out here.
Daddy said
Grandpa
that,
Harkins
Mommy
did.
said that Stell was
Yeah,
real
Sam
sick and
Harkin, he
Yeah.
run us out there. Well, Will Pitted lived out there first. He's one that owned that
I
first.
remember that.
And when they was building that house out there, Dad said, Grandpa Yeary said to him, has the river been up here? He said, one time, 18 something or other.
Has
Well,
been
he
one
said-
time since too
And
now.
he said, if it's been here one time, it'll come again.
It did.
Really?
Hey, Caleb, them dogs will bite you. Get over here. Now, I told you
It
once,
got
and I'm
up out
picking
there
you up.
different times. And it got up out here, and I'll show you.
Oh, I know that time it got in your house, it was up to the light bulbs, wasn't it?
It got up big here.
This house was real sick, and they had to take her out on a boat, and they took her up to Reese's up to his
Dad built a barn over there across the river in '65, and he thought he'd build it up above the high water.
Yep.
Well, in 68, I believe it was, it got up to there. And Dad said that's as big as he'd ever saw it. Well,
Think
70,
about it being that high.
70, it come up to there. And 77, 11 and a half feet.
I know it's up to Joe, up on your light bulbs, wasn't it, Joe?
Well, it got up at like 2 feet getting up to the ceiling on the first floor. And we just leveled off on the porch post where it got to with a level and run tape up here on a stick. And it was 11 and a half feet higher than it ever had been.
And they moved his house now. He had it moved up yonder.
They moved it up yonder.
It's the same house, but he had it moved. Of course, you know, he's
And
remodeled.
I moved up there. Jim said that's where it had been built.
Yeah.
And when it got up to the porch there, I put my wife in the boat and took her up there and parked the road. And they had to take her around on top of the hill down to my sister.
Lord,
Down to that place now.
And it is all covered.
Okay, this is the original mill that Samuel Harkins ran. You see some old millstones still out there. He had a store and a grist mill right here on this creek that leads into the Buchanan Ford. This is a shot from above. You can see where the old foundation is right here. Right down there is part of the walls. Most of it's gone now, but one time there was a store right here. And if you go up this hill right here, you end up on their property in the Harkins Cemetery. Now this is the actual ford. The creek comes out right there. And here's the river. And up here is Grandma and Laurie saying, I better get going, so.
All day, my arm would swell.
your arms are a little bigger than me, but the rest of you
She said, I said, Mommy, I got a band. I went to church one night and come back and he had this on her. So I had changed it. He had this piece is not. He had lost it or something. He said, part of your cover goes over there. But I like this thing. See, when if I'm washing or something, I just roll it all up. But
Lord, I took a shower and everything.
it keeps perfect. I take it out Maldi's with me, and I lay the flashlight by my bed every night. I put the flashlight shine when I watch to see what time it is. So I'll know what time
Happy
it is.
6.
Granny, you're gonna walk home, aren't you?